On this episode of the Nationwide Real Estate Mastery Podcast, we sat down with Sawand Belcher to uncover how to do subject to deals and why new wholesalers fail. Welcome to the Nationwide Real Estate Mastery Podcast, where we provide actionable steps to help you get your first or next real estate deal. Now, during this episode, you're going to discover exactly how to do subject to deals and why new wholesalers fail. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Shaun Young, today's host, and I love all things real estate. Now, before I introduce you to our incredible guest speaker today, I want to make a request that if at any point in the show you like what you're hearing, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the show so that you never miss an episode. And make sure to take a look in the description of this episode, as we've packed it with thousands of dollars in free resources. Now today, we have the privilege to learn from a man whose biggest success was understanding that wholesaling is not the only exit strategy. Now, prior to his career in real estate, he sold cars. But all that changed when he decided that he wanted to get involved with real estate and go all in. I would describe our next guest as someone who is an aggressive, no-fluff family man. I want to introduce you all to the one, the only, Sawand Belcher. Sawand, thanks for being a guest on today's show, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, brother.
Man, it is a pleasure. I know that you are super busy, and I am totally honored to have you on our show today, brother. So thank you so much. You're out there crushing it.
Yes, sir. We're having fun in the market right now. The market has kind of turned a little bit. So it's taken some by, kind of like storm, and others are out here playing in the rain. So I consider myself to be one of those ones that's out here playing in the rain, that's, taking chances, shooting free throws, always practicing.
Indeed. That's what you got to be doing, brother. So Sawand, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background and where you're from, and how did you even get started with this business?
Yeah, man. I'm from North Carolina. So Plymouth, North Carolina is where I'm originally from, which is a little country town, 2 stoplights. I think we got that second stoplight maybe 10 years ago. So, we upgrading.
Are you a Tar Heels man or Wolfpack man?
Yeah, I don't watch sports.
Okay, that made that easy.
Yep. It's weird to a lot of people, but I don't watch sports. I love music, but when I went full time in the business, I stopped listening to music for 3 years, and start filling my car time and my house time with podcasts and YouTube shows and stuff like that, so I can get that education. But man, I come from a little small town, and I just got a big mentality. People in the country, they used to call me a city boy, just because I would try to do different things than what everybody else was doing. If somebody was pushing dirt around, I was trying to figure out how I could, draw and sell my drawing, Mm-hmm. That's kind of a little bit where I'm from. I'm right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is my main market of where I operate in. Okay. And we typically stay, within about an hour of here when it comes to doing deals.
Nice. So when you were in your previous role, in the car business, did you feel that was where you were meant to be, or what was the key moment that made you feel like I've got to make a switch here, or maybe I don't have to make a switch, but I'm just going to make a switch?
Yeah. So honestly, the car dealership was like the best thing that could have ever happened to me. When I got to the car dealership, I realized that everything that I had been through in life, was all like the way it was supposed to be. Nothing had to be changed. It was perfect the way it was going, even though I thought things could be different. And so, and I thought it was that way because my general manager was Scott Bisbee, the ultimate sales guy, very aggressive, very stern. So he created a staff of other aggressive and stern guy. So I was in a very aggressive time to be working at Crown Honda. But that helped me get structured. That helped me harness my anger. That helped me understand sales. That helped me understand how to communicate with people. Um, and so that was really a blessing to go through it. I will say after year 3, after realizing that all of this aggressiveness was never going to stop, you're never going to please your manager, never going to please the customer, never going to make, not necessarily never going to make the salary that you wanted to make, but you are going to do way more work than intended to get that salary. And also I got a little tip from my finance manager. He said, "Hey man, what you doing with all of this money?" Because how old was I? I guess I was 22 when I started there, 23, hit 100 grand. And so that's when, one of my finance guys says, "Hey, yo, Sawand, what are you doing with your money?" And I'm like, "Yo, I'm spending it," laughing, thinking that it's funny. And he said, "Man, no, you gotta do something with it. You need to go buy a house." And I said, "Man, I can't buy a house." He said, he asked me if I sold a car that day, and I said yes. He said, "Yo, go over to state employees. I'm gonna let my lady know that you're coming over to get approved for a mortgage." I said, "Sure, I'll go over there and I'll try it out, but it's not gonna work." Surely enough, she got me approved for 120,000. Yeah, she got me approved for 120,000, and that's when the journey started. So I started buying when I was at the car dealership.
Okay, man. That is quite the start. What gave you the confidence, like, to, once that your manager said, "Hey, I'm going to send you over here," like, what gave you the confidence to, actually go over there and not just kind of brush him off? Was there something that you kind of felt inside that this was something that could be life changing?
Honestly, no. I was just following instruction. Because once again, with stern leadership, you know, you kind of just, you kind of understand that you're not the leader and that they are, and that they're, better than you, or have walked more miles than you. So you kind of just go. I went there not expecting anything, but more so just to report back to one of my managers. But when I came back to report back, like I said, I reported back with money. And so when I came back to report back, he said, "Well, look, so we gotta get you a house now." And I was like, "Cool, man." I sold Miss Jackie, a car. She's a realtor. He said, "Well, be sure that she gets you a good deal." He told me, "You want to trade in, not a car off the new car lot." Okay, he said you wanted to trade in, and so I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But I started to find out after I connected with Miss Jackie. So a trade-in is essentially, because when the dealership is buying cars for the dealership, they're pointing out all of the stuff that needs to be fixed on the car so they can get it at a discount. They're asking the person that's selling the car, that's trading it in, why are they selling it? So that way they can leverage their why so they can get a discount. And then also, the dealership makes money from that car. And so that was his mindset of telling me that. Now, that first house, I ended up buying a foreclosure that was listed. It was REO. And I ended up renting it out. And Miss Jackie, she managed it for me. And what I really loved about that first deal, it was supposed to be a house that I was going to move into. But my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she didn't want to move in because we wasn't married. So we rented it out. And what I loved about that first house was it paid me, like, because at the car dealership, you would sell a car, you get paid. If you did not sell a car, you wouldn't get paid. But no matter what, this Indian family, they paid me every single month. Matter of fact, they're still in the house, and I've had that house now for about 6 years now. So I liked that. Now, here's where my problem came in. Okay. My problem came in because it's like, okay, well, great. My girlfriend at the time didn't want to move in. Now we got engaged. So now she want a house now. I'm like, well, dang, I just got this mortgage. I don't know if I can get another one, And so surely enough, I talked to Starkey again. He said, "Yo, try him out again. He's just work the process. You did it one time before." So go over there, state employees. They say, "Yeah, man, we'll give you a loan." So this time, instead of hitting up the realtor first, because my fiance is involved now, she's like, well, let's just drive around the city and find out where we want to be, right? These days we call that driving for dollars. So we go, we go to this certain area, we're loving it. And, maybe after 3 months of doing this, we finally jump out of the car and say, hey, let's just park right here and let's walk down the neighborhood, so we can kind of manifest, what we want. And so we had the crazy idea of knocking on the door of the neighbors across the street from this vacant house, a 2-story vacant house. And I was like, let's just ask these people if they have their phone number. Right. Didn't know what I was doing. Knocked on the first lady's door, and her name was Shirley Wiley. And the craziest thing happened. She invited us in. Okay. She don't know us. She invited us in. She sat us down. She wanted to talk to us about what we were doing. And so we told her we was looking for a house. We're looking for one to move into. And we were there for about 45 minutes, and she popped a question. She said, well, what do you think about my house? And I'm like, I mean, babe, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, well, we like it. We'll take it. And so we ended up agreeing at $119,000. And I thought that was good because the neighbor's house across the street sold for $180,000. Okay. So I thought that was good. And surely enough, we got the loan. Boom, boom, boom. We moved into the house. Okay. Here's where the magic comes in. I'm still at the dealership. I'm like, so it took us a year. The first one we got, boom, and then a year later we got the next one. Okay. We had another child coming up. I'm like, man, I want another rental property. And so we start doing the same thing again, driving around, kind of seeing what we wanted. Nothing caught our eye or anything. So we started telling people at our church and on Facebook, hey, we're looking for our next property. And a lady at our church says, hey, look, I got a property, but I'm not necessarily sure if I want to sell. So we kept her name in our back pocket. Okay. A guy at the end of our street, he had inherited this house from his mom maybe like 6 years ago before this time. And he said, hey man, I'll sell you this house. I said, cool, perfect. How much? He wanted like 75,000. We ended up agreeing at 45,000. Okay. Now I hope you can hear how these numbers is playing. That guy's at the end of my street. I told you Mr. Tony's house across the street from mine sold for 180. I bought mine for 119. So 45,000 is a great deal.
100%.
It's a great deal.
All day.
And so I was like, yo, we got to do this. Now his house was not livable because it didn't have heat, the roof was leaking, and a couple of the windows was broken. And I didn't pay any attention to those things. I was just thinking really great deal. So I went over to state employees again. It says, hey, look, I got this house under contract. Let's do this loan thing again. This is where they cut me off. They said, hey, look, DTI, debt to income, we can't finance anymore. I'm like, oh shoot, what am I do now? I done got this guy all hyped up, got the deal on the contract. What I'm gonna do? Sunday, I went to church praying about how I was gonna work this out, like my new problem that I had. And so I told one of the elders there, Mr. James Cox, hey man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to close on this house. I don't know, this guy might sue me. Da 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 da. He said, man, this is all pivotal. So I'm sorry for the long story.
No. This is all great stuff.
He said, well, did you know you could sell the paper? And I said, what? I can do what? And it took me a while to process that thing. So while he was praying for me at the altar, I couldn't even process it there. He ended up talking to me outside of church later on that day, and was explaining that there was a group of guys that were real estate investors, and they would meet every other Thursday at the Longhorn on Wendover in Greensboro. And whenever you go to this meeting, they accept new people to come in. They talk real estate, and then at the end of the meeting, they ask who has a deal. And whoever has a deal under contract, those men would buy the contract from you, right? And essentially, you would buy the house. You get paid to buy a house. And I'm like, interesting. Interesting. And so once again, with my mentality of, being open to allowing others to lead, and I kind of follow those instructions, I did exactly what he said with all kinds of faith, no hesitation, and I end up doing my first quote unquote assignment deal, and I made $5,000. So that's kind of how I got into like once that happened, you know, the first deal I had to bring money, the second deal I had to bring money, the third deal I got paid to buy. And so once that happened, my whole mental shift being at the dealership, I could no longer work there and be comfortable with how much aggressiveness was there, with how I couldn't control my pay. With, you know, I couldn't deal with working there anymore. So it started to really weigh on me at that time after I did my first assignment deal.
Man, you have unraveled a whole lot, man, and I truly appreciate it. I know that my audience definitely appreciates it because you've really broken down a process. You went out and bought a house. You got a loan the traditional way, but you put a renter in place. The second house, you did this. You said, hey, this worked once. Let me go ahead and try it again. The third time, the bank said, the money is, we're cutting you off right here. So you were forced into another creative strategy. Like you say, you spoke with your pastor, you prayed about it, and he granted you with the option of wholesaling. And you had no clue what it was.
Right.
You figured it out, failed your way for it, and you have not looked back ever since.
Right. It's crazy. I thank him so much. I thank him so much. He don't even know why I be thanking him. But I'm gonna continue with this story real quick. Okay.
Absolutely.
So the next deal came from that lady from church. Okay. So it was probably 3 months or 4 months later after she originally mentioned it to me. So this is when I realized follow-up was gonna be the game. Okay. 4 months later, she started talking to me about it again. And instead of jumping over the conversation this time, I went straight to the testimonials. This is my first house. This is my second house. This is how I bought my third house. You know, I went straight for the, I'm serious about this. I can do this. I can help you. Right. And so that led into, oh, well, we're at church now. Let's meet at a Panera and talk about it more. Okay. We went to the Panera that week. She told me her story about how she's had this house for 7 years. She's never made money on it. Her mortgage is $800. She has a tenant that's paying $600, and she ends up losing money every month and fixing stuff in the house.
Wow.
And right. And she's like, so you got another loan? I was like, honestly, honey, after hearing your story, I don't necessarily know if getting a loan on this house is the best option, but what I can do is I could relieve you of the debt so that way you didn't have to make that $800 payment and you can finally have your first positive month owning this house. Okay. Now, wow. I didn't know how to structure this deal. Okay. I didn't know how to structure this deal, but I knew I could do something. I didn't know what it was at the time, but she was intrigued. Another week later, I had started doing some research on YouTube at this point. And I found Brian Irigbu, and I found my boy Ron LeGrand.
Two good brothers.
He's talking about subject 2.
Two good gentlemen right there.
Oh yeah, two good guys.
And Ron is actually a mentor of mine, a previous mentor and good friend of mine right now to this day. So two good brothers. I don't know Brian just yet, but Brian is an OG out here, so I've been following him for a while.
Brian straight walked me through this deal, bro. He straight walked me through this deal, and I mean literally each way. And so the next time we met at Panera, she wanted to know how I was going to make money, and Brian told me that she was going to ask me that. And he told me to just be honest with her and let her know exactly what I was going to do. So I was going to get the property under contract, no deposit. I was going to put it up on Facebook, put it out there for rent to own, and I'm going to look for a tenant buyer. They're going to give me a down payment. That's going to allow me to pay her a little bit and pay the back payments. And then I'm going to charge them more every month. Okay, more than the mortgage. So that way I make a spread. They're in charge of the maintenance, so my cash flow doesn't fluctuate. And I'm going to give them a promised price that they have to cash me out in 3 years. So I make a back end check. So I get paid to buy it. I get paid to keep it. And then I get paid to, to sell it on the back end. And when she heard me say that, she said, I don't think this is going to work, But if you're willing to give me, $750 and take over the mortgage, I'm down.
She's like, okay, well, that sounded pretty good, but kind of complicated. But if you can give me this, let's go. Let's make it work.
Right, right. And so that led into a whole nother world of me not having to qualify for, a loan to buy a house and getting paid to buy a house. And I mean, it was from the moon from there, right?
So did you
I guess
sandwich lease that one, or
maybe
did you sub to that one? Was it a sandwich lease option or a subject to?
sub two, sub two.
Sub
So
to.
the deed of trust, the mortgage stayed the same.
Okay.
Okay. But the warranty deed went into my LLC name. So it changed from her name to my name. The deed of trust stays the same. I got the login, made all the payments, tenant buyer paid me and da 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 da.
Nice, nice. So how did that look? How did that deal look from the beginning? What was the down payment that that tenant paid? And what was your monthly spread? And then how much did you make on the back end?
Okay, nice. So altogether, I made $56,000 over the 3 years. Okay, so
Nice.
the first tenant, yeah, the first. So what I did was, I was so new at this, I did it so terribly that I had my cousin come over and clean the house. Well, luckily, first of all, Miss Leslie, she was willing to get that tenant out. So she helped me get the tenant out. They were out in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Perfect. And right after they were out, there was no power, no water. But my cousin had just started a cleaning company. She said, "Hey, Sawand, I'll clean your houses for you." And I said, "Great, yeah, perfect. How much would you charge me to clean this house?" $200. Perfect. So she got over there to clean the house. It ain't have no power, no water. Because I just didn't know. I wasn't thinking.
Indeed,
I
you
wasn't
didn't
thinking like
know.
that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I had to bring her jugs of water to clean that house, and I bought a big flashlight from Home Depot, wireless battery flashlight. Anyway, and so she cleaned it for me. I got the power turned on,
Mhm.
and still didn't turn the water on, but I put it up on Facebook. I had a big showing. I probably had about 50 people at that house from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The first tenant that I chose, so this was my standard. I had my applications right there, and I had what I was looking for. I was looking for $10,000 down.
Mhm.
I was looking for $10,000 down, and I was looking for $1,200 a month. The first person that said yes, by the way, I was coming up on my next payment. I had already made a payment out of my pocket. I
Okay.
was coming up on my next payment, so I was feeling the stress a little bit. Okay, so the first person that said yes to me on the spot said, "Hey man, I ain't got $10,000, but I got $2,000. I give it to you right now. I can't do 1,200, but I'll do 1,000." And my stupid self, I said, "Sure, yes, give me the money. Here you go."
In the
So
viewing,
they
everybody
paid me
go home.
right, exactly, and that's exactly what I did. Like, hey, it's done for, bro. That's it.
Got you.
He got it.
Got you.
Here's what I want. Um, and they didn't pay the next month. They didn't pay the next month.
Mhm.
They did the whole one payment, no more after that.
Got
And
you.
luckily it was an easy process to evict. I got them out. Then the the next person that I chose was from that same orientation. They
Mhm.
they kept calling me. They said, "Yep," they kept calling me, and they said, "Hey, if something happens to that guy, let me know." So finally, I met her. I think her name was Shakia. She gave me $7,000 down, and she agreed at $1,150 a month. And she stayed in there for 3 years. State employees. I told her to go to state employees, the same lady I went to,
Mhm.
state employees, and got her loan. So I made the mortgage was like 790. Her payments was 1150. So I made like $300 or so cash flow every month. And then on the back end, I only owed 90 grand at the time that she cashed me out.
Mhm.
And we signed a promise price of 125. So I took home another like 35 grand on the back. So
Nice.
yeah, so the two plus the six plus the $300 over 3 years, and then another 30 and some change.
Man, that is a sexy deal, brother. That was literally like my first deal was I did a sandwich lease option. I literally had no clue what I was kind of doing, just failing my way through it, failing my way forward, just like you did, brother. And man, I love it, man. You have just broken down the process to do a subject to deal. Let me ask you this, brother. What is the first step that if someone is new and they want to do the same thing that you did? How do they find these type of properties? Are these wholesale type of properties, or are these pretty houses, ugly houses? What are they to you?
So what I typically do now to find my subject to deals is I just think about, this just comes over doing, several of these deals. I just went back and I looked at all of my deals that I've done, and I just said, hey, what kind of avatar does this person typically look like? And so pre-foreclosure and probates are typically, the list that I'm generating so I can make subject to offers and get more of them accepted.
Okay. Pre-foreclosure. And okay, makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you, once you get these people on the phone, are you sending them postcards? I mean, how are you getting them on the phone? With postcards, text messaging? What are you doing?
Perfect. So what I prefer to do is I prefer to cold call them, RVM, and text. Okay. And I do all three at the same time. So the way cold calling works, guys, for pre-foreclosures is they're having hardship. So you can't just call them one time. So you call their number one time, they don't answer. Immediately you call them again. Immediately you call them again on the third time, they'll probably answer on the third time because it must be important. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they don't answer that third time, then we're leaving a voicemail that has hope for gain and fear of loss. Okay. Hope for gain for the seller that they can actually liquidate and stop foreclosure. Fear of loss is, they better do this quickly before they lose the property and the bank wins. Okay. If they so that hook should get them to call you back or at least send you a text message. Next, we send them a text message being straightforward, no fluff, go straight towards it. So in a text message, something like, great day. My company, Buy Triad Homes, act as a mortgage assistance program. We help you catch up your monthly mortgage payments and help you increase your credit over time. Let me know if you might be interested. Boom, straight to the point, and then we'll drop a ringless voicemail for follow-up. So that way you can, not have to do all of the work yourself. You can create some kind of automation behind it. But we hit them all three ways. And if we notice that in the county records that is about to go to auction, we'll just go by and knock on their door the old-fashioned way and present ourselves in a reasonable way.
Nice. And I'm glad that you explained that RVM, just in case some of our listeners didn't know what that stood for, which is ringless voicemail. And thank you so much for doing that. Sawand, let me ask you this, brother. You attribute a lot of your success to your ability to be able to talk to people and have a good conversation. Why do you think this has played such a huge role in your success?
My dog is having fun. Hold on 2 seconds.
Oh, no, you're good, brother. You're good. I definitely understand what it is like to have life going on in the background. That's what our listeners are out here doing. They're living life. So it's no problem at all. And guys, while we're waiting on Sawand to jump back on, what makes a Nationwide Real Estate Mastery show unique is that every show comes with a detailed, actionable step-by-step plan to help you get your first or your next deal. That way, you can pull the steps out of the show, create a blueprint on exactly how to implement what we're covering. All you guys have to do is visit the link that's going to be in the description, get the key takeaways and the free resources and gifts that Sawand has generously allowed us to give you guys today. And as many of you all know out there, the Nationwide Real Estate Mastery is a podcast that allows our guest speakers to break down exactly what they do, as Sawand has been doing today. So make sure you take a look in the description so that you can reach out to him as well to ask him any additional questions that you may have beyond this show.
My God, sorry about that.
You're good, brother. You're good.
My boots on the ground crew. My boots on the ground crew, they just came by. I ordered some. I'm refreshing one of my Airbnb units, and so I had the the comforter sets here. They just came by to grab some, so my dog was showing them some attention.
Giving them some love. Giving them some love. Hey guys, as you see, this is what we do. This is action. I mean, he's taking action. He's making it happen right now. This is real deal Holyfield. This isn't scripted, as you guys can see. So I love it, man. It's real stuff. So no problem at all. Let's just keep it rolling.
For sure, man. And yep, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yep. So I was just saying that I mean that's really how I got my boom. That's how I got my boom. Once I got that deal, I left the dealership at that point, and we started wholesaling to the moon. At the height of it, we started doing like 50, 60, 70, and we hit 100 deals a year. So the last couple of years, since the market has been crazy, we've been down to about 50. But the rental portfolios, because of what we've learned over time to pick those kind of deals up, we've been amazing as far as like cash flow and rental doors. So we're up to 60 doors now.
Nice, man. You that is amazing, brother. I really like how you've discussed, making pivots, making shifts, making changes. And it sounds like a lot of the changes were kind of just, they were just brought upon you by circumstance, such as you happen to learn how to do the subject to, strategy. It just seemed like it came to you because it was something that was needed. The wholesaling came to you because it was something that was needed. Why do you think right now so many wholesalers are failing out there?
Yep. Well, like you just said, most people are not willing to change. Okay. Most people are not willing to change. Like if something is working and it gets comfortable and there's a rhythm, most people just want to keep doing that thing, even if it hurts, even if it's painful, they'll just keep going through that so that way they don't have to, face the fear that they don't know everything. They'll keep doing that same old thing. Like what I mean is when we're doing 100 deals a year, that sounds good, but really our average deal size was only like $6,000. Now we're doing 50 deals a year, but our average deal size is $25,000 a deal now. So it seems different. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's worse, but it's really not. It's really not. And so that's the first thing, people, when you're wholesaling, when you're marketing, when you're negotiating, when you own a business, you have to be willing to adapt and change. Okay. One of the things that I thought that we changed in our wholesaling company that made us great was all of the data that we collected. We actually looked at it and we analyzed it. Because that's what a wholesaling company is. We're data aggregators. We're marketers first. Mm-hmm. So anytime we would sell a deal, 3 months later, we will go back and look at the tax records and see how much our buyers sold property for. And if they sold it for more than what we expected, we would make note of that next time. So that way we could make sure we priced our properties, better next time, so that we can make more money. Smart. If one of our buyers took down a property from us, we'd actually look at the HUD, and then we learned through one of our attorneys that their private money person was on the HUD. And since we have access to the HUD because we sold them the deal and their private money person is on there, we should be connecting with their private money person to thank them, for paying us, mm-hmm. So we can make that relationship and we can start doing deals with them. And then another thing during that time when we was wholesaling, we also made the pivot that a title issue doesn't mean that is a dead deal. A title issue just means that there's an opportunity to be creative, so you can get that property at an even better deal for yourself. Okay. And through that, I mean, that's what wholesalers are doing wrong. Because most people, whenever a title issue comes up, they just throw it in the trash like it never lived. Mm-hmm. Most wholesalers, they're only looking for that $5,000, $10,000 fee. And most wholesalers are not looking at their numbers. They're just They're just working, not necessarily operating at a higher level, saying, hey, how can I get better? What are these guys doing that I'm not doing? How can I make more money per deal? And those kind of things. Yeah.
Man, that is some great stuff, brother. When you were reaching out to these lenders that you found on the HUD, were they easy to find? Did you have to Google them? Is there a special site? How were you able to find their contact information?
Very easy. Well, we're already wholesalers, so we know how to phone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing, anybody listening on the call, if you've already done any deals, you need to go find your HUDs. So if you're not keeping your HUDs, you need to make sure that you're keeping all of your HUDs from your deals. Okay. On the HUD at the top right-hand corner, okay, at the top of the HUD, there's a spot for the buyer's information, their name and their address. There's a spot in the middle for the seller and their name and their forwarding address. There's a spot under that for the closing attorney or title company that's doing the transaction, their name and address. And to the right of that is a guarantor box that has the guarantor. So it's either going to say, it can say a couple things in there. It could say cash. If it says cash, then your buyer is bringing his own cash. So that means that you need to be asking that buyer to partner and to lend to you. Okay. If it says an LLC, okay, if it says an LLC, let's say if it says an LLC, then you need to deep dive a little bit more. Okay. So an LLC could be like a banking company, but an LLC could also be a private lender who's just set up an LLC that he can lend within. Okay. And then it also could be a trust. Okay. If you see a trust, almost 1,000%, that's a private money guy. So those last two, you're just going to skip trace a trust, which just means that you need to go to the Secretary of State website, find out who the registered agent is, find out who the members are, and skip trace their name, get their phone number. Once again, once we got their phone number, we just call them and we thank them. We say, hey, thank you, Mr. John. We appreciate you funding that deal for Aaron. Aaron's one of our best buyers. And Mr. John's gonna be like, oh yeah, nice. He got that deal from you. Oh yeah, we're the deal finders in the area. Whenever we find a deal, we typically send them out to buyers so they can buy from us, or we'll buy the deal ourselves and make money in that way. If we happen to, find another deal, in the area that's even better than the one that you funded for Aaron, would you consider doing business outside of him? Okay. And they'll say yes or no. Okay. Most of the time, you're going to have to follow up with them and build a relationship with them over time, just like any other relationship. Okay. But over time, I'm telling you, I was just talking, Kendall's funding a transactional deal for me yesterday. I just raised $70,000 from Kendall. And this is the way I found Kendall. Kendall lives in DFW in Dallas. And he's one of the private money guys for one of my big buyers, Charlie Klein. And yeah, he's been funding deals for me for the last, 3 years now. But that's one of the best ways I know of how to find private money, not by doing a bunch of rigmarole. Like literally these people are active because you just sold your buyer a deal. That private money guy just lent it to your buyer. You're going to connect it to say, hey man, I'm in this party too. I just helped you and him. Did you know that? Oh, you didn't? Psst. Let me show you what else you don't know. I got all the deals.
Exactly. These are the type of parties I throw. You want to come?
Right. Right. Literally our conversation yesterday with Kendall, he called me, he said, Sawand, he was laughing. He's like, Sawand, man, you got to find me some more deals to invest in because I'm out here spending money on dumb shit.
Man.
I said, what did you buy, Kendall? He said, I bought a wiffle board. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, I bought a wiffle board, I bought a canoe, and I bought a boat. I said, Kendall, you must be bored. He said, yeah, man. Well, he's been traveling for the last 2 years because his construction business is just doing well. And man. But that's a good conversation. He's just like, hey man, you need to find more deals so I can invest in with you. That's the kind of conversations that you want to be having. Wholesalers. I get it. You want to talk to the biggest buyer and they want to be, easy to work with. But I mean, talking to their private money lenders, that's easy to work with, that's willing to send money on handshakes, that's way, way, way better. So instead of getting your small fee, you're getting more of the lump sum. Okay. And even the best part about Kindle is I wasn't even taking any deals away from Charlie Klein. I was having Kindle fund my subject to deals. So Charlie Klein was buying in cash. I was buying subject to deals that only needed $5,000, to the seller, $5,000 to fix up. So I'm asking Kindle for 15 grand. Charlie's getting, Charlie's getting private money notes for 100 grand. Who's he more likely to do business with? Who does he see favor with? 15 grand, 100 grand, same return. And
Indeed.
so, and so that's one huge, 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 huge things that wholesalers are missing. They're missing that. Like, why on your buyer site, if you have a buyer site where you disposition your deals and people can go to your buyer site and opt into your buyers list, why not have a question that says, would you consider lending, yes or no? And then whenever you need to go raise money for a deal, right, because your buyers are mistreating you, they don't see the deal that you see, then you can reach out to everybody who said yes to lending.
Bam. Man, you have given some golden nuggets. I hope you guys were taking a listen out there. And if you weren't, go back, rewind this episode. Man, you have just dropped some huge golden nuggets that I know would be tremendously valuable for a ton of wholesalers out there who are kind of struggling, who are stuck, who are not knowing exactly how to pivot or how to, get deals outside of the traditional wholesale method. And you have just given us a great, great alternative. Guys, smash that like button out there. Make sure that you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It's your engagement that drives us to do this for the community for absolutely free. So, Sawand, let me ask you, brother, what rates are you looking for when you're dealing with this private money?
So honestly, everything's, once again, I got this from the car dealership. Okay. What Scott Bisbee, the general manager, told me, because like I said, I'm very aggressive. And so when he noticed that about me and with dealing with certain customers, what he finally sat me down in his office said is he said, let them be right and you be rich. Okay. So what that means is you get other people to say what you want them to say. You don't say it to them. You get them to say what you want them to say. Okay. So this is what I do. So if I'm approaching somebody and we're talking about raising money and I'll ask, well, hey, are you looking for short-term returns or are you looking for long-term returns? Whatever they say, it don't matter. Okay. Whatever it does. Okay, perfect. Well, how's the market currently treating you? Okay. So the market might have their money in a 401k and says, well, my 401k is spitting off, 5 or 6%, or, I'm lending to some guys right now and they're paying, 10%, they're paying 14%. Says, okay, well, I know I'm new to your bubble. If I happen to, be where you are at now, would that be enough for you to lend to me? Because why would you go straight for more? I typically go straight for where they're at now.
Exactly.
And if they say no, then I'm asking them like, hey, if I were to bring you a deal that's at 50% of value, I paid 50 grand for it. My realtor backs it up and says that it's worth 100 grand. My contractor backs me up and said that I need 20 grand to put into it. So we have this amount of equity into it. So you can't lose. You'll win way more if you actually take the house from me. Do you think that your current investments are better than this example investment that I gave you? And if they say, well, no, yours is better. Well, for that reason, safer investments gets, lesser interest. And so I let them decide, what do you think, what do you think that is for you? How safe are you willing to go? Now, of course, if we want to do some riskier stuff, subject to where they're a second lien position, of course, the interest rate is higher. But typically, on average, I'm paying between 8 and 12%. The way bank rates are going right now, I'm probably going to end up paying 14% before the year is up. But I typically pay between 8 and 12%.
Okay, man, you just broke down another golden nugget, man. I hope you guys, again, were paying close attention. he said, you don't tell them what it is. You allow them to tell you. And he just gave you a method on how you can do that. Great stuff, man. So
Yes,
Juan,
sir. Yes.
so Juan, we have reached the part of the show that I call the rapid fire session, man. And this is where I'm going to ask you a question, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Nice.
All right, let's roll. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict were your parents?
10.
Get up early or stay up late?
I'm gonna get up early.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
6.
Favorite or last book read?
Get Rich or Die Trying.
If you could be any superhero, who would it be?
Spider-Man.
Something everyone should do less of?
I was gonna say drink coffee.
Something that everyone should do more of?
Have sex.
NFTs, bang or bust?
That's a bust for me. I don't know nothing about that.
Indeed. If you had one wish, Sawand, what would it be?
Man, to go back to last year when I was negotiating this Castle House deal, I would definitely have given this man an interest rate for this deal that he was giving me on this little mini mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Sawand, what final thoughts would you like to share with our listeners out there before we wrap things up?
Yeah, man. Well, once again, thank you for allowing me to be on the show. And I pray that everybody's, gotten something out of it that they can use. I don't expect everybody to grab 10 things out of it or everything that we talked about and implement right away. I always tell people, if you can pick one thing out of one podcast, out of one video that you can use, that's all you need. So that's typically what I do when I'm reading books. I'll read a book and I'll get that one thing that I need. I'll stop reading it and I'll go implement the same thing with the video as well. So just remember, it's not about consuming the content. It's about getting what you need in the comment. So you stop and then you implement what you just, what you got, what you needed.
Facts, man. I love that, man. How can our audience out there reach you and get more information?
Yeah, man. Reach out to me. I want to do deals with everybody. Okay. I want to do deals with everybody. This is me taking action on Instagram, YouTube, and you can check out my website as well at This Is Me Taking Action. That's the best way to reach out to me is This Is Me Taking Action at Gmail. So if it's This Is Me Taking Action, that's probably your boy.
Nice. Well, Sawand, brother, I definitely want to thank you for coming on today's show and sharing so much valuable information with my audience. It has been a pleasure.
My man, hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. Until next time.
Absolutely. And to my listeners out there, you guys have made it to the end of the show. So give yourselves a pat on the back, because most people never finish what they start, and you just did. Now, if you got any value out of today's show, please share it with a friend or on your Facebook page. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and send us topics that you want to learn more about. So until the next episode, you can catch me on any one of my social media platforms. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks, Sawand.
With this crown on my head, I'm seated on the throne. The top is so long. Only thing that keeps me going is I know my city love me. I know my city love me. I know my city love me. I know my city love me.